So, I guess there was a Hellboy trailer, another one, that they dropped in the dead of night, literally at midnight, because that's a good idea. That's when you get the most amount of eyeballs on your stuff. So, I didn't know about it until today. Some of our Twitter followers, some of our YouTube folks are dropping little comments and like, new Hellboy trailer, like, are you going to cover it? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm hungover. I really didn't want to, but here we are. If this is your first time checking us out, we are not the trailer reaction channel. We do pretty in-depth comic book videos and movie videos and stuff. I would highly recommend going and checking out our Hellboy Good Stories End video about the Hellboy comics, or the Not My Hellboy comparing the movie Hellboy to the comic book Hellboy. But a lot of you know now that I'm a big Hellboy fan. You want to hear what I have to say about it. I get it. So here we go. All right. So new trailer. Wow. All right. So everybody seems to think this one's a little bit better. I guess I agree. I have some thoughts. I'm not going to reiterate all my opinions on the first trailer, but this is not, to me, any wildly different. This is not any more different in tone than the last one was. This is still, hey, this is a dark fantasy superhero movie. Come check it out for dark fantasy action and stuff. And I'm starting to put my brain into a place where I'm no longer holding it to any kind of standard to replicate the tone of the comic books, because it just doesn't really seem like that's what they're doing at all. And that's fine. Like I've said in the other videos, I really enjoy the Guillermo del Toro films for what they are, even if they are wildly different in tone from the comics. If this ends up being a good time, so be it. But that being said, the last trailer did Moni Moni. This trailer is doing ZZ Top. We're still not getting, we're not that far away from it, but there's a lot of new stuff in this trailer, so let's talk about it. So I want to talk about stuff specifically pertaining to the comics, things, imagery that I'm recognizing, or just character stuff in general that, as a big Hellboy comic book fan, it's the stuff that I notice beyond tone and music and all those sorts of things. So for me, the big thing this time around was Daniel Dae Kim's character, Ben Daimio? I think I was saying his name wrong a lot before. It's Daimio. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's Daimio. In the comic books, this character is a really cool character. He was created in the BPRD comics, and this movie seems to be changing him completely. There's the broad strokes there. He is more of a gruff military kind of guy. There still seem to be getting that across in the movie, but he's much younger. He doesn't have the same, leadership qualities that he has in the comic books. It's just a trailer. I don't know. Maybe that stuff will be in the movie. And yes, in the comic books, this character turns into a jaguar monster god thing. Okay, that's in the trailer. I'm assuming that wasn't in the last trailer because the CGI wasn't quite ready, but this time they have more of it ready, so here you go. Hey, I love kitty cats, and the idea of having somebody on your team that can turn into a scary jaguar person and fight that's a superpower, cool. But I can't help it. I'm a comic book purist. Here's some of the things that I can't help getting my hair is... It's like when you brush the kitty the wrong way, right? They put the hand in the wrong direction, so here we go. In the comic, so this is a character that can turn into a jaguar god. Cool. And he's got that big scar on his face, and that probably has something to do with it, right? Like a were-jaguar. Cool. Fine. That's pretty much like the comics. I'm gonna spoilers for the comics if you've never read them. So these are the things that my brain is doing as soon as I see this stuff. In the movie, this looks like you have your superpower team that everybody has their different superpowers. Hellboy's Hellboy. Ben Daimio, he can turn into a were-jaguar. Cool. And Alice Monaghan, who I'm going to talk about also, she can put on B-parody brass knuckles and punch the ghost out of somebody, it looks like, and I don't fucking know what that is. Okay, so Ben Daimio. Ben Daimio in the comic books is not brought into the BPRD because he has any kind of superpower. He's brought into the BPRD because he is a decorated soldier, because he's somebody that they would need to help mobilize the BPRD to fight the bigger threats that they're needing to fight. We got an army of frogs that they need to go out and get. He's there because he's a soldier. He's there because he's going to come in and take all these people that are not military and try to help them become militarized. The idea that he turns into a were-jaguar is definitely in the comic books, but let me explain to you how it's dealt with there. In the comic books, he has a secret. He has a dark secret. You know that it has something to do with jaguars. You think that the scar on his face probably has something to do with it. By the way, in the comic books, it would have cost too much money, I guess, in the movie, but in the comic books, it's not just a scar. He has just a giant piece of his cheek missing, and you can see his teeth through the outside of his face. It's a lot more grotesque. Anyway, so he doesn't tell anybody about his jaguar god status. Let me tell you about how everybody finds out about it in the comics. It's not in a moment of, oh, we're going to lose unless, what would really be great right now is if we had a were-jaguar to help us fight this threat. Like a movie, like probably what they're going to do in the movie. The way everybody finds out about it is that he loses control. I don't remember specifically why, but he turns into this were-jaguar god, which, by the way, is not like a fun good guy kind of thing. It's just, oh, now I'm a monster. And he does it at BPRD headquarters while nothing is particularly going on, and he kills a lot of innocent people. He kills a whole bunch of BPRD agents. The only reason that anybody is saved is because Johann Kraus, who is he is actually in the Golden Army. He's the guy that is the ectoplasm that's trapped in the suit. Again, another spoiler warning. In the comic book, he eventually at some point gets a body. There's a body that has no soul in it, and this body is like Arnold Schwarzenegger times 10. And so in addition to him being able to eat and fuck and all these other fun things that humans get to do, he also is now on the BPRD, this massive hulking guy that can kick the shit out of things. So he's like, I got this, and goes to fight the Jaguar God to try to save the people, and gets killed in the process because he's flesh. So not only does Ben Daimio kill a bunch of innocent BPRD agents and kills Johann Kraus's body, he's so not embarrassed or whatever. Obviously that's a really bad fucking thing to have done, and he runs off and disappears for a lot of the comic books. So again, go read the comics; they're great. I don't want to get into everything in the comic books, but you see how much darker that is. That's a lot more.
Character building.
That's a lot more meaty character stuff, and it would have been a lot more interesting if they maybe had built that up and maybe held on to that for a second film or something like that. But right now, this is, again, the tone they're going for. This is more superhero, comic booky kind of style movie, so fine. So on that same front, you have Alice Monaghan, who's the character with the piercings and the dreads. From what I can read about this movie, she is still. They're keeping that part of her where she was involved in fairies when she was young. That is true in the comic books. When she's a young kid, Hellboy rescues her from fairies that have kidnapped her, and then obviously Hellboy continues to live a long life, and then she's grown up, and they meet each other when she's an adult, and they kind of get a romantic relationship with each other. She's a part of the fairy world from that, and has been always since then. But in the comics, she's just a redheaded Irish lady that has a connection to the fairy world and is a really good influence on Hellboy. In the movie, they're taking that and turning her into a superpowered martial arts, brass knuckles, ghost punching person, which maybe it'll be really cool. I have no idea, but it's pretty different from the comics. Okay, a couple other things. I don't have much more to say about this one than the other one. The Nimue, the bad guy, but the character played by Resident Evil Mila Jovovich. So Nimue, the Queen of Blood, was a villain in the comic books, and it seemed visually they're definitely, they're getting that right. But a couple things here. What they're doing, and a lot of Marvel movies do this, they're cherry-picking some other characters in the comic books and then sort of amalgamating them, right? They're kind of mixing them together to create a new character. So in this trailer, they show Nimue and Hellboy making out, and a lot of stuff about her wanting him to be her king and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so none of that's in the comic books. Nimue has no interest in Hellboy other than just destroying him. But they're kind of taking Nimue and they're combining her with Hecate, who is a female, villain character in the Hellboy comics or at least is at one point interested in Hellboy king and queen, and both of us together will rule over the demise of man sort of thing. So they're kind of taking that and they're putting them together. I get that kind of makes it more interesting. I did like in the comic books that Nimue, she didn't ever get off her ass and go to the streets of London and start zapping people with magic powers. In the comics, she pretty much just is very terrifying presence in the sense that everybody's scared of her, but nobody necessarily says why. She pretty much just sits all the time, and her armies and her acolytes and everything kind of do all of her dirty work. So, again, a little bit of a difference there, but it could work. I think that's about all I have to say about the new trailer. To me, it's tonally not much different than the last one. I'm kind of giving up hope that this is just the tone that they're presenting for the trailer and that the movie might be completely different. I think that they are doing another Guillermo del Toro style superhero kind of style comic, which is fine, and I got an open mind to it, and I'm there for it if it's a good movie. But part of me is still a little bit sad that we're not getting the more gothic horror, closer in tone to the comics movie that I was hoping for. But what are you gonna do?
Makeup and speech.
Makeup and speech. Okay. Everybody seems to hate the makeup. I don't. I think it works, and the speech is something that everybody else hates also, and I don't hate it. I like his slurry delivery that, yes, it's kind of hard to make out what he's saying sometimes, but that slurry drawl is kind of something that I do imagine Hellboy sounding like, so I don't have a problem with it. Nope, that stuff doesn't bug me. It does bug me that Professor Broom is seemingly like 50 years old during the flashback scenes in World War II, and yet the actual movie takes place in present time, and so I don't know how old he's supposed to be there, but if you were 50 years old in World War II, how old does that make you now in 2019?
Add 70 years, right?
If you were 50 years old in World War II?
Add 70 more years.
So he's 120 years old. He's 120 years old. So maybe there's something in the movie to explain it, but yeah, whatever.
The Nazi 3D goggles.
That's actually pretty accurate. Like, if you go back and you read the early Nazis. Okay, the movies would have you.
The red
right? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The movies would have you believe that the comics are just full of Nazi shit, and they are. But it's more towards in the beginning. Like, if you just took all the comic books together, Nazi stuff only probably accounts for like 15% of it. But for whatever reason, they get like overrepresented in the movies. Whenever Mignola did do Nazi stuff in the comics, it was very pulpy. It was very not realistic. It was not trying to be historically accurate. So yes, often you would in the comic books have things like guys with monocles that have swastikas on them and stuff because it was trying to be pulpy. So that actually I like in the trailer. I thought that was cool.
Chicken House.
Chicken House is the Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is a very important fixture in the comic book, Hellboy comic book mythos. She's such a big deal that I was kind of hoping that she would be more of, and they might be doing that, kind of building her up for like a future installment. But she is a Russian mythological figure. She's a witch of sorts. Yes, she lives in a house with chicken legs, and it's filled with the souls of people that she's, taken away. And at some point in the comic books, Hellboy shot her eye out, and she's always been pissed about it. And she becomes a lifelong villain or whatever for Hellboy. So all they're done so far is show that imagery. So all I know is that Baba Yaga's in it, but she doesn't seem to be figuring too much into the plot. So probably a flashback scene, if I had to guess, and maybe setting her up for something else down the line. I like this QA format. Do you have any other things like that?
I don't think of anything else.
Okay. They showed the Bat Monster thing again that's seemingly in a Mexican wrestling ring. So again, hopefully a flashback, but I think maybe they're just taking the Mexican comic book stuff. By the way, if you don't know, there's a whole bunch of Hellboy hanging out in Mexico in the comic books, and it's wonderful.
And we saw young baby Hellboy.
We saw young baby Hellboy again. It's interesting that he didn't show his face. Yeah, I mean, you have to do it every time, right? Like, if you make a new Batman movie, you still gotta show. Everybody already fucking knows, but here we go again. Bruce Wayne in the alley with the parents, and his parents get killed, and they saw a movie, and yeah, we gotta do it every fucking time. But yeah, whatever. They want to do another Hellboy origin scene. That's fine with me.
Last words.
Last words are still keep an open mind. Same thing with the last trailer. Watch it without the music and without the sound on, and you will get a different perspective. This is really violent. They're throwing F-bombs in it. I don't think Hellboy has literally ever said the F word ever in the comic books. It's fine, but like that's not really what I was hoping for with a rated R Hellboy movie. But there is a lot of violence and gore in it. But again, it's sort of more over the top action gore, which is fine. I'm down for that, but more hoping for some horror, scary stuff, which they're not really getting at in the trailer, but, you know, maybe it's tucked away somewhere in the movie. Patreon. So, Patreon. And if this is your first time watching our stuff, we don't just typically just sit in front of the camera talking, which is really easy to do. We're literally doing this in the middle of the afternoon. Kyle's called off sick from work and we had an hour, so we just are squeezing this in. We do have a lot more in-depth content, so please go check it out. And if you appreciate that in-depth content, consider checking out our Patreon page where we're starting to put more exclusive content, including our comic book commentary, which seemed to go over pretty well, and we'll do more of that in the future. And thank you very much to our Patreons, and thank you very much to our non-Patreons and everybody that's been supporting with well wishes and nice comments on our YouTube page. Whoever you are that said the thing about the cats, that I don't know if you saw that comment, that was fucking hilarious. Congrats to you, sir. That was really funny and it made my wife laugh, so thank you.
We're changing our channel to cats and dog videos.
More cats, here they come. 2019. All right, see you guys.